Hi, Laurence. It's great to have you on the show with us, and we'll be asking you a few questions. So, first of all, obviously the show's over now. I think the first question everyone wants to know, after such a heavy comp, how sore are you?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, it was a really tough show, really brutal, very long. It kind of went on for hours, which was just really hard on all of us. And obviously the events were just so heavy. Body feels relatively okay, no serious injuries or anything like that, just lots of aches and pains, soreness all over. My feet are really sore, my back's sore, my arms are sore. So yeah, it was a pretty brutal show, and just kind of, the weight that we were lifting, and just the time in between events, things like that all affect it. But touch wood, my body feels okay. I think a week of rest, and then I'll be ready to get training hard again for the British.
Is this your first time you've competed in Dubai, or the first time you've been to Dubai? What was it like to acclimatise to the different climate? How hot was it? Was it unbearable? Is it a completely sort of alien landscape to go and compete in after you're used to the UK and Europe?
So this was the first time for me in Dubai, but I'm used to competing in hot countries and climates like this. It was really hot. It was about 35 degrees, but it cooled down because the contest went kind of on into the night. It wasn't so bad, and having my darker tan skin anyway, I tend to cope pretty well. I used to suffer more in the heat with like cramping and things like that, but I think I've kind of cracked the way of stopping that now. I really focus on staying hydrated. I use a lot of Himalayan rock salt in my food and then in water as well. So I'll put the rock salt into my water and drink it for days up leading to a contest, and then during the show as well. I've competed in a number of shows just this year in really hot conditions, and I've not cramped at all. So that seems to be something that's really helping me not pick up any injuries right now, and power through and perform at my best. So the conditions were fine. It was a lovely, environment. The weather, it was hot, but that didn't affect me. I definitely kind of probably cope better than most in these kind of conditions.
I think one of the first things us as viewers noticed was how sort of epic the equipment was for this show. Obviously, it really went for that sort of Mad Max post-apocalyptic sort of feel, and it looked pretty cool. What was any specific piece of equipment you had a favourite of, or is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that any sort of tidbits you can tell us?
The equipment was really cool. Like you say, it kind of had that Mad Max kind of vibe to it. The trucks were really awesome. They were probably the most spectacular looking bits of kit, but there was a real kind of rustic look to all of it. The yoke was huge, the shields and the logs and the axles, they kind of had this, rather than that kind of like shiny clean kind of look to it, it was all a bit more rustic and kind of like a war scene almost. But it was really cool and just a little bit different to most shows that you do these days.
Now, just going on the weights of the show, everybody knew it's super heavy, but I mean, in terms of other shows that you've done before, how heavy was this? And you know, because the equipment was like so sort of non-standard, so to speak, it's quite difficult for the viewer to appreciate genuinely how heavy the competition was, especially with things like sort of the silver dollar deadlift, just because it's difficult to actually quantify the weight to translate it, in layman's terms. So yeah, step us through how heavy this comp was.
Yeah, this contest was absolutely brutal. If you look at the yoke, we did a 580 kilo yoke. I think the heaviest I've ever done in contest before this is around the 450, 460 mark. I had a friend that saw that I kind of broke the world record on this, and they said that it weighs more than their horse. So that kind of puts into perspective of how heavy this thing is that we're carrying on our back. The Atlas stones, they were ridiculously heavy. The first stone is 170 kilos, and when I started competing at World's Strongest Man, the last stone was 180. So this time, the 180 kilo stone was the second stone, and then it was going up to 190, 200, and then the final stone was 225 kilos. So just crazy weights. The deadlift, three guys went over 500 kilos. I think the worst anyone did was 400 kilos, and those kind of weights 10 years ago would have won contests. So it just insane. an insane amount of weight to lift, back-breaking stuff. I think only 4 guys managed to finish the yoke. Um, so it just shows how hard and how heavy it is, and these are the best, absolute best guys in the world.
What was your best event in this competition? I think I know what you're going to say, but I'll give you the opportunity to answer it for us.
The yoke was definitely my favourite event. To win an event against this kind of lineup is always special, but to win it in the way that I did, I smashed it. I've been given a world record on it. I absolutely kind of annihilated the whole field on it, and it really was brutal. I mean, everyone said I made it look easy. I had like Kilias Koski, who is just unbelievable at this type of event, coming up to me afterwards saying how good it was. And when you got your peers kind of telling you it's good, then you know it's a good performance. Um, I've always been good at these type of events, but I've trained hard for this one, and it was kind of special because, like I said earlier, I mean, I've done a number. I've got world records on the yoke at lighter weight, like between 400 and 500 kilos. But I was actually nervous about this, just with how heavy it was. It almost changes the event. But to go and win it, beat the likes of Hafthor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw and, these guys that are dominating the sport right now, that was a really good event for me. I was also really pleased with my truck pull to come second on the truck pull. I've been putting a lot of work into it, training it each week, and just to see that pay off has been good as well. But if I'm going to pick a favourite, it's definitely going to be the yoke.
I want to talk a bit about the scale of the show and what it means for the strongman scene to have a sort of show of this magnitude joining the roster. And obviously, this is going to be continuing. What's your thoughts?
I think it can only be a good thing particularly for the athletes and the sport, to progress as a whole. They're looking at investing a lot more money into strongman contests, prize money going up, and seeing us treated as big stars rather than competing in smaller car parks, if you like. They're really trying to put it on a grand scale. And if they can promise, if they can deliver on their promises, it's just going to be a good thing for all of us. I think it's gonna upset maybe some other promoters, but it's also gonna make them have to raise their level, and make the sport, make their contests better. And as an athlete, I'm going to have to be a lot more selective about the shows that I do, particularly being, in my mid-30s now. I can't just kind of compete in everything. So I'm going to want to compete in the biggest and best shows. And if these guys are going to compete, keep putting them on, then I'm definitely, as an athlete, going to be drawn to compete in them. And I think most of the guys will be, to be honest. Just to add to that, these guys have already announced that they're doing a show in Saudi Arabia and China next year, with possibly one other, and they're looking to do 4 shows the year after that. So with even bigger prize money. So if they deliver on that, it's a good thing for us as athletes, and just seeing the sport grow is just going to make it huge.
So what's next for you, Laurence? What's next on the agenda for yourself as a strongman, and what have you got coming up ahead for you?
I'm pretty busy over the next few months. I've got an exhibition in the Faroe Islands. I've got a number of seminars on. Just busy with my normal work back home. But the main focus for me now, going forward, is the British in January. I'm a 2-time champion, and I would really like to make it a 3rd time. It's going to be tough. We've got so many good guys competing at this year's British, but that's what my training is going to be focused on. I really want to try and win a 3rd British title. So yeah, that's the focus for me. And then I'll kind of probably look at maybe World's Strongest Man after that. But one step at a time, we'll focus on the British first.
Now, I know you're flying back tomorrow, Laurence, but I don't know if you've checked the weather forecast, but it's been pretty damn cold here. It's been snow and pretty low temperatures. So are you looking forward to going back to the UK?
I've seen that it's cold back home. I've been keeping an eye on the temperature, but I'm ready to come home. I'm really looking forward to just seeing my family, my little 10-month-old daughter, and my other kids, and obviously my wife as well. It's been quite hard being out here because all the other guys have had their partners with them, just with the little one, and schools and stuff like that. It's just been it would have been too hard for me to bring the family out here. So seeing everyone else with their families made it worse as well. So I'm really looking forward to going home and seeing them and just spending a bit of time with the family.
Thanks very much for joining us. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again soon, and look forward to watching your progress.
Cheers, buddy. I will talk to you soon, mate. Take it easy. Bye.